was the fact that the child has to want to stop gaming in order to actually stop gaming. And perhaps like that's one of the big things. And I think the biggest thing is for him, maybe it works for the fact that, him, it might not work. Like gaming might not work in general. He gets distracted all the time and he is unable to focus or anything like that. And for him, he's able to see that. And because of that, he's able to make a change. But however, I also think that his case is not does not speak for the entirety of humanity, and because of that, we also must be prepared for other different circumstances that have different different circumstances that have different solutions to them. In terms of like as a responsibility, the responsibility of a parent is to get your child the best future possible. And whereas, but the ultimate decision falls to that of the child. And I think that's one of the main points here that is very important. A lot of people are like, we want our children to become doctors, very successful. We want children to become, the good working members of society. We want them to become businessmen and stuff like that. But the thing is, first of all, we have to understand what they want to do. Second of all, we also have to, if we want them to become doctors, then we have to thoroughly convince them why that is the best case, like why that is the best route for them, why you think that is the best route for them. And they might not listen, and they might listen. It depends on how good not only depends on how good your argument is, but also how willing they are to do it. So in terms of gaming, I think that's one of the biggest important things, is because if you're trying to get your convincing your child to stop, you have to try and convince them. You can't just attempt and go. You can't just try and attempt to force it out, to force them to stop, because that's never going to work. That's never going to happen. The only real way to stop people from gaming or to stop people from doing something bad is to convince them through emotion. This is called pathos in English. And there was this argument, right? There was two horse riders, and they're fighting against each other, each with their own spears. Which one would you want to attack first? Would you want to attack the guy in full armor, or would you want to attack the horse? Because if you attack the horse, the guy falls off the horse.
How do you attack the horse?
Sorry. The horse is the emotion, and the mad rider is the facts. You can't convince someone that what they're doing is wrong through facts. Like I could say that people are dying, or I could say that technically true that black on black lives, like black on black crime is more, it's a fact that it happens, but that also isn't necessarily the truth either, because it has a lot to do with emotions as well. In terms of it, it's like a lot of people are unable to understand this, or unable to like recognize this, purely because they're also being run by emotion. A lot of these arguments are being run by emotion, and the truth is, if you look at the hard true facts, I'm not sure about this, but I'm pretty sure there is a correlation. There's not causation. Again, correlation does not imply causation, has been said before. But there is a correlation between video games and violent actions. Okay, so that is enough for a lot of people to think that it is something bad. And video games, again, like they cause people to like not lose focus, and they it's a distraction for school. But at the same time, a lot of kids don't view it as this. And so in order to really truly like get them to do this, you have to how do I, what's the word for this? You have to adhere to their emotional state. I guess that's the word. And obviously, I think I'm a little bit biased considering I still play games. I actually played the game that Kevin played a few times and showed in his video, and it was actually pretty interesting. But the thing is, I genuinely believe that forcing people to do things against the will is not going to happen. And if you want to quit something, that you have to do it yourself. Like you have not only yourself, but you have to make it like a decision to do it yourself. To think that I am going to stop playing video games, or I am going to I'm going to quit drinking, or I'm going to quit smoking. All of those things, you have to make that choice. And it doesn't matter how many times, how many facts people throw at you. It doesn't matter how much stuff that everybody can say. In the end, the person making the decision is you. I think video games are just like, in terms of like, if we we're going to talk even in terms of video games, it's going to be like I used to have this thing where I used to take video games a lot more seriously than I did now, very seriously. And while there is still like an air of me where I still take video games seriously, I don't take it as seriously anymore, as much as I used to, at least. Most of that, video games and most of those, taking it seriously was partly because of the competitive aspect. And I think this is the reason why a lot of problems arose. But especially in our family, because it's like, it is very anxiety driven. So a lot of the times, like, I was trying to prove myself, basically. I was wanted to, say that, show to my, not only, to these, my teammates, or not only to my friends, that I was good at this game, but I also wanted to prove to my parents that I was good at something, right? And that's one of the things that was completely, just, it wasn't going to end up well. It wasn't going to end out, it wasn't going to end up very in a good way. But I think in the end, you have to realize that, again, the kind of shift into it kind of starts from, understanding that video games, aren't meant to be taken seriously. Like, they are for some people, of course. Like, if you're like playing professionally, you're making hundreds of thousands or thousands of dollars every day, right? Of course, like, that's meant to be taken seriously. But a lot of the time, people like, the reason why people play video games is as an escapist method, is escapism. And not only escapism, but also to immerse themselves in the real world, into the video games world. And I think that's why video games in general are also not so different from mediums like movies or books, because they have a profound impact on the way you view things. And in my opinion, like, I think if we were able to view video games as like less of a harmful thing, in less of a harmful thing, and perhaps more of a less of a harmful thing and more of, as a relaxing. And I think obviously there are people who are going to be like, oh, look, there's going to be it's going to be addicting, or it's going to be like, some people will overuse drugs, right? And some people will overdose on it. And that's the thing, because it's so like addicting, right? And they use drugs as a means of escapism. And that is one thing that is bad about video games. But at that point, while the government can't control anything about, the video games or anything like that to actually make it better, we can. What we can do is we can help them in a way that, some people aren't unable to.
Can you just briefly tell us more about what happened before, like you were playing video games like no tomorrow before, like 2 years ago. Now you're like, you can skip video games a few days in a row. What was the switch? I know the switch was the mindset of like, you have more confidence and you have better relationship with parents. Can you share with your experience there?
I'm actually gonna try and say somebody sent this to me. I'm not gonna reveal their name, She said, my 12-year-old is listening and something like that. He tries to use my opinions to argue with me to continue playing games. And I think this is a very interesting point. Obviously, as parents, you cannot help but worry whenever someone is playing games, and he's not turning in homework, he's not doing any stuff, his grades are a little bit failing at school. And that's one of the things where it's like, okay, that's fair. But at the same time, if you treat this as an argument, you trying to use my opinions as an argument to continue playing games, it's never going to be it's never going to work. If you treat this as an argument, it's never going to result in anything else, because again, like I said before, it's emotional. Everything is emotional. And when that happens, you want your child wants to play more games, and you don't want them to play more games. So what ends up happening is that you try and take control of their controller, you take away their games, you take away their computer, or whatever the heck it is, and then they end up hating you because of it. I think the real reason, the real solution to this would be to see and understand, help them in a way that makes them understand how the tragedies or the bad things of games, or why you don't want them to play. And in terms of that, and at the same time, you also have to understand why he plays the game, why he finds it so fun. And when he does that, because of it, then you're able to find something that is very, very, I guess, it is very special. In terms of me and my mom, I haven't been playing video games as much recently, just because recently, yeah, I haven't been playing video games much, just period. Because the truth is, I don't, as when I look into it, it's not as interesting as it was before. It was just when you play a lot of video games, there's a difference between when you want to play it for a job, right? You want to play it for your life. That is your life. Video games are your life. And then when you say it like that, this situation, I would like to bring up an example here. I don't know if you've seen the movie Hi Mom. It's a Chinese 2021 comedy, directed by Jia Ling. And one of the things you see in the movie is, I don't know if this is spoiler material, but there's a question that's asked in the movie where it asks, what do you think your parent wants the most of you? What does your parent want from you? And for others, for basically every single parent in existence, it's always going to be their happiness. But when you ask the children, they talk about success, they talk about wealth, they talk about money. And in terms of Jia Ling's case, she talks a lot about going to UCLA, going to good colleges, and graduating with a very happy face. That's not the case, as we found out. And I think the biggest thing that we all and I think that's the big thing that we can't understand, because why, if we want them to be happy, then why don't children think that we want them to be happy? And that is a big problem here, because if we don't let them see that we want them to be happy, then, and if you fail to communicate it with every single method you've tried before, then we're definitely doing something wrong here.